All right, so you've got your Google Sheet open, okay, and you want to build a line graph, okay, using Google Sheets. The first thing you need to do is highlight everything. All right, so once you've got everything highlighted, then you're going to go up to Insert. Okay, that's right up here. And you're going to go down to Chart. All right, when you do that, this dialog is going to come up. Don't worry about the recommendations, they're always wrong. Okay, go over to Chart Types, and then scroll down until you get to Scatter. That would be this one right here. Okay, that's the one we want to use. So click on Scatter Plot. Okay. And, oh, you know what? I got to go back in here. I'm looking at the data and thinking I got to modify something. I do. Okay, that's why it's confused. I've got M's in every box here. So I've got to delete all my M's. All right, so now that we got all the M's out of the way, we'll go back to what we did before, which is highlight everything, go to Insert, go to Chart, okay, and see now it recommends different kinds of graphs. We still want scatter plot because that's the best for what we're doing. So we go down here to Scatter, okay, and that is a mess. Okay, so we got to switch rows and columns here. There we go. Okay, so if yours ended up looking like mine did a minute ago, you need to click this box up here that says switch rows and columns. So if yours ended up looking like that, you don't want that. Okay, you want to uncheck this box that says switch rows columns. Okay, and that uses row 1 as headers. That's what we want because now we see exactly the pattern we would have predicted, okay, for our carts that were moving down the atrium. Hey, everyone with me so far? Okay. All right. Once we've got that, then we're going to click on Customization because what's my graph missing right now? Title, labeled axes. Well, actually, it's got one axis labeled, but it doesn't have the other axis labeled. So there's a bunch of stuff we still have to input, okay, to make this graph proper format. So when you go to Customization, okay, first thing is title. Right now, it's got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, which you don't want. Okay, we're going to say something like Graphing Lab, position versus time or something. Okay, remember, we need a descriptive phrase as well as what's on the graph. Okay, and you can change it so that it looks however you want. I mean, you can make it red or you can make it black. It doesn't matter. Okay, you got all kinds of options there. You can pick the font and all that. So it's up to you. You can mess around with that if you want to. Okay, our horizontal axis, they've already labeled that time in seconds, so that's fine. We'll leave that. That's what we want it to say. Okay. Now, what I often do, just because I like to see lots of grid lines on my graph, is down here in grid lines. So I've scrolled down past axis horizontal and gone down to grid lines. It makes a major grid line every 5, okay, and then I say minor grid lines, and I just pick a big number so that I get lots of minor grid lines as well. Okay. Some people say that looks busy, but I don't know. It's a graph. It should have lines on it. All right, so now we're going to go back up to where it says axis, because we've only done the horizontal axis. If you click the little triangle here, a drop-down menu comes down that will allow you to do the y-axis, which they call left vertical. All right, so if you click on that, now you can give it a title. What did we put there? What's on the y-axis? Yeah, well, actually, technically it's position. Okay, if you put distance, I wouldn't mark it wrong, but technically it's position, where the cart was at that point in time. And put units on that. Okay, position in meters. And then I usually do the same thing. I make more grid lines, okay, just so it looks like a real graph. Hey, is everyone caught up to me? No? Anyone having trouble? Ken? Right down, so here's where the axis part is. I scroll down just a little bit more here to where it says grid lines, and then I went to minor, and I made it 10. They have minor 0, which means no minor grid lines. If you make it 10, it'll make one basically every line. Okay, now Number format, we never play with that. We just use the data. Otherwise, it modifies decimal places and things like that, and we don't want that. Okay, scale. You can pick a scale if you want, but I think it picked the right scale. It made every line worth 1, and I think that that'll be okay. Okay, so we don't need to mess around with the scale either. Colors. Now, that's if you want to change the color of each series. All right, you can see that it's got all the carts over here on the legend. So cart 1 is the blue dots, and cart 2 is the red dots, and so on. If you go up here to series and hit that, it'll take them all. It's got all of them there. Basically, all you can do is change the color of the dots. I don't know that you'd want to do that. It kind of did it automatically anyway. Okay, you can change the point shapes if you want to make them stars or whatever. You can do that too. Okay, there's all kinds of cheesy little options there. Okay, error bars. We're not putting any of those in there. Okay, but at the very bottom, you'll see trend line. This is the thing that's going to draw our best fit line for us. Okay. So we're going to click on the little drop-down menu. Which one do we want? Linear, exponential, or polynomial? Linear. It's a line, right? These things look, I mean, they look like they go up by pretty much the same amount every time. Okay, that's a linear relationship. So we click on that, and it spits out a best fit line for my little blue stars. Okay, now when you do that, you can go a little bit further down. It gives you more options for the trend line. Okay, so in here for label, right now it says custom. So basically it's going cart 1 and giving the trend line there. Okay, if you click on that, it says use equation. Click on that, and the label changes to y equals decimal 324 plus x minus 0.204. So actually our y-intercept on that graph was negative. Okay, that's why it says minus instead of plus b. It says minus b. Okay, everyone follow me there? So it draws it for you and spits out the equation. So which one of these numbers is the slope? Which one? In y equals mx plus b, which letter is the slope? M. So we've got y here, m is here. Did it do the slope calculation for me? It did. Okay, this equation here is y equals m, 0.324, times x plus b. Okay, so b is negative 0.204. Just when it drew the line, it decided that the best fit line should go below the origin, which is fine. Sometimes that happens. Okay, everybody follow? Okay, so let's do it one more time. We'll do it for cart 2 here now. Okay, so we just go back up to series, click the drop-down menu, and click cart 2. All right, cart 2 is right now red squares, but you can make it whatever you want. Okay, maybe we'll make it triangles. All right, so now it's red triangles. Okay. All right, I think actually we have 2 carts that are almost identical. That's why we can't see the little red triangles right now. Okay, I think we've got like purple and red are right on top of each other. We'll find out in a second. All right, so now that I've got that, then I go down to trend line, and I put in linear, same as I did before. And then I ask it to make the label the equation. Okay, so it spit out here that cart 2 is y equals 0.387 times x minus 0.162. So its y-intercept is also below 0. Okay, you guys do the other 3? All right, so I'm going to give you a little bit of time to get your lines drawn. I'm going to put together a fake graph, and I'm going to show you how to do the y equals mx plus b to solve for y and x here in just a minute. Okay, when you're all done with your graph, and I already did it, sorry, down in the very bottom left-hand corner, there's a blue insert button. So when your graph has got all of the stuff on it, titles, labels, and all the equations are on there and everything, just press insert, and it'll pop it onto your Google Sheet. Whoa, that's why you don't use a smartboard when you're doing that, Kurt. Okay. So it'll pop it on, but it'll probably put it like over top of your stuff like this. Okay, and all you got to do is just click and drag it down so it's out of the way. All right. Now, in your lab report, it does ask you to copy both the chart, that's this, and the graph over into your lab report. Okay, which isn't hard. Okay, you just copy it, press Control C, and then take it over to here and paste it. Okay, comes over. Okay, so that chart, that's going to go in the observations part, and it says place your chart here on your template that I gave you. Okay, and you're going to do the same thing with your graph, except that I think I said to put it in the analysis, which is where it should go. So you click on this, and you click on the little thing up here at the top. If you found you made any mistakes, like your graph, when after you inserted it, you realized it's missing something, you can still fix it. You just go to Advanced Edit, and that whole thing that we had before pops up again. Okay. All right. Now, if you want to paste it over into your lab report, then you simply go down here to Copy Chart. Go over to your lab report. Okay, it's got to think a few minutes and pops it in. Okay, so it's just a matter of copying and pasting. Okay, goes over easily. Yeah. Okay, this problem comes up once in a while. When you copy your chart over, sometimes it's cutting off some of the letters here. Okay, that's okay. Just highlight the whole chart in Docs. Okay, so just highlight everything and then align it to the right or to centered, and it'll show up. Right now it's got it aligned left, and if it shifted everything a little bit, it cuts it off. So if you align it to the right, it all shows up. It's just an alignment thing. Okay, so if that happened to you, just highlight the whole chart in here and realign it a different way, okay, and it'll work. Okay, if you're finding that you don't like how your legend is showing up here, okay, you can go into the Advanced Edit, and in there is a place for you to adjust the legend. Okay, so I'm not far enough here. Legend, and it puts it on the right, and it tells you how big it is. You can always make the legend smaller if you would like it all to fit on there on one line. You can change the font size. Okay, so I know some of you were talking that you didn't like how it looked. So that's how you can do that. It's an option anyway. You could also put it elsewhere, although I don't like where else it puts it. Sometimes it puts it inside, like you can put it inside the graph, and it looks like that. I mean, if it's out of the way, it's not a big deal, but when you got 5 lines, it's going to be overlapping the lines. Okay, you can put it on the right-hand side, the left-hand side, on the bottom, okay, on the top. It's up to you, okay, wherever you want to put it. Yeah, well, it shows the whole equation no matter what. Like if I go back to 12, okay, and I put it back over on the right-hand side, it's all still there. Y equals 0.15 x plus 5, right? So it's all still there. It's just not all in the same line. Oh, yours is dot, dot, dot. Yeah, okay. So if it's dot, 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 make the font smaller. Yeah. Okay, or put it on the top. Like if you put it on the top, it's got lots of room. It's just going to push your graph down. Okay. Like if I do that, sorry, on the Graphing Lab spreadsheet here. Okay. Come on. Can't do it on the smartboard. So if I change my legend to the top, it says 1 of 4, right? And then I can click through the others, but it doesn't show them all, right? I would like to see them all at one glance on your graph. So I would say just make it small enough that they all show up, okay? And then go from there. Some of it has to do with the size of the screen you're looking at it on too, right? Like if your guys' screens are smaller than mine, so it tries to scale it down. Yeah, so it's up to you, however you want to make it so that it fits. All right. Now, to show you something here about the analysis, okay? In the analysis questions, and I'm not going to do them for you, but I'm going to show you how the idea works. In questions 2 and 3, you're being asked to find a y value and an x value that are beyond the graph. Okay, so I'm looking at a graph here that relates the number of sheets in a book to the thickness of the book. All right, so I've got number of sheets are x values and thickness of the book are y values, and my equation is y equals 0.15 x plus 0.5, or sorry, plus 5. So my y-intercept is 5 millimeters. Basically, this must be how thick a book with no pages is. That would just be like the cover. Okay, the cover would be 5 millimeters thick or something like that. Okay, so questions like in your analysis would be something like this. How thick would a book with 500 pages be? Okay, now, how thick the book is y or x? Y. Okay, so my formula is y equals mx plus b, and I know m and b already. They asked me, how thick is a book with 500 pages? That's which kind of a value, y or x? That's an x value. 500 pages is an x value. So if I substitute in 500 for x, can I solve for how thick it would be? That's what the importance of y equals mx plus b. It allows me to extrapolate for values beyond the graph, or to find exact values on the graph instead of me having to go, all right, at time 25, it's about 8. Or sorry, at 25 sheets, it's about 8 millimeters. I don't want to know how about, I want to know exact. Okay, I can use y equals mx plus b to do that. All right, so what I would do in this one is just a matter of plugging in numbers, because it's already set up to solve for y, which is the thickness of the book. So I would go 0.15 times 500 pages plus 5 millimeters. Okay, and that'll give me how thick a 500-page book is going to be. It's going to be 80 millimeters thick. Okay, let me do this first, okay? All right, now for calculating an x value, okay? So now let's say the question asks, how many sheets are in a book that is 80 millimeters thick? Okay, 80 millimeters is beyond my graph, right? I want to figure out how many pages is an 80 millimeter thick book. All right, so they told me y, 80 millimeters, and I'm looking for the number of sheets, or sorry, the number of sheets in the book. Everyone follow there? So I'm looking for x. So I've got to manipulate y equals mx plus b for x. So how do I get x by itself? Okay, y minus b, and then divide by m. Right, because I subtracted b, so it cancels, and I divided by m, so it canceled. Now I've got this. Okay, so now I plug in my numbers again. Right, they told me that it was an 80 millimeter book minus the y-intercept, 5, divided by the slope of the line, 0.15. And that'll tell me how many pages are in that book. All right, it's a 500-page book. Is that making sense? That's essentially what you're being asked to do in questions 2 and 3 in the analysis. Solve for these values for each cart beyond the graph. Okay, question. Each car. Okay. You can either one. If you do it on paper, you got to take a picture of it and insert the picture. Okay, because I don't want any paper. Okay, so if you're doing it on paper, take a picture of it and put it in. Otherwise, just type it in. Okay, you don't have to show me this. You don't have to show me your manipulation. Okay, just show me the y minus b over m. You don't have to show me crossing everything out. Okay, show me what your final thing is. It might be easier to type it in that way then. All right, especially since it's the same manipulation 5 times, right? Do it once and copy and paste it after that. Okay. Other questions? Is that sort of making sense for the analysis? Because we haven't really talked about that yet. Okay. All right, still got about 5 minutes left, so you can get a little bit more work done.